If you do know the Superman lore, we've technically already had a black Superman in the form of Steel, if you go back to the early 90s. And more recently, we have Zod, as well as alternate versions of Superman. However, the plan appears to be that they're going to take the Clark Kent version of Superman and essentially make it a black person. So on the one hand, it is, quote, new version of Superman. On the other hand, it's basically maintaining the core mythos, but just changing a few elements. And they're also going to insist that it has to be a black director who is going to direct the film. The real question here is, what are intentions? With Zack, again, now we know this much more. He tried to have a black Green Lantern. He almost had a black man as Superman's father. And he had a lot of minorities within the original cut of Justice League, which then the WB got rid of and Joss Whedon got rid of. And on top of this, he had an Asian daughter. So I think with Zack, his credibility is fairly strong. And the WB, at best, is all over the place, at least with live action. Now, we can say a lot in terms of the comics and the cartoons, which is pretty strong and has a good record, even if I think you can question some things. Like, for instance, they had within the JLU a much more mixed race, mixed gender kind of composition. Some of it made sense and some of it did not make sense. And the same is true of the comics in terms of retconning characters and things like that. For instance, in the comics now, apparently Cyborg is one of the founding members of Justice League, and that was never the case. I know these things primarily from the 1990s. I mean, I used to read comics a lot, and now I study them primarily as research, but it's much more sporadic because after the 1990s, it seemed to me it was just getting too commercialized, and the stories were lacking. So that's my point of view. But I do go back and try to keep up with, the way they reboot the universe. And we do have, again, a lot of positive instances, right? Because with Supergirl, I didn't watch a lot of it, but I know that, Jimmy Olsen is black. She's in interracial relationships, etc., etc. So the record with the WB side, to be fair, is mixed, but there are, positive examples. But when it comes to the DCEU, almost none of this is coming from the WB executives themselves. So we can say something like, okay, well, they had Joaquin Phoenix, who's Hispanic, and he's the Joker, but that was Todd's idea. A lot of the WB executives did not support Joker. Todd is on record now saying, yeah, they really didn't care about it. They thought, we're selling pajamas with this character. We don't really want this more adult version. How's this going to help us sell more stuff? So he met with a lot of hostility. When Zack wanted a black Green Lantern, they threatened to almost fire him, saying, no, we don't want that. We want the Green Lantern for something else. You got to take that out, or you're not going to get your movie out there. So, again, yes, the DCU has had quote-unquote diversity, but that's often been against the ideas of the WB executives. Jason Momoa is non-white and he's Aquaman, but he was hired by Zack Snyder. Gal Gadot is Jewish, so she's not typically a white woman, but she was hired by Zack Snyder. So it's kind of ridiculous to say, but the DCU has given us, Wonder Woman or this or that, or the Joker, and it's like, but the WB executives were mostly against these decisions. So it's just really, really plain and cynical to sort of say, now they want a black Superman. But on top of all this, the Superman may not even be part of the DCU officially because, again, they're concerned with profits. Obviously, if this thing makes a lot of money, suddenly this new Superman will be the Superman for the DCEU. But if it doesn't make any money, then they're going to be like, okay, that was a nice experiment. We're trying to be flexible, give all these artists a try, etc., etc. It's just like, no, it's pretty plain and clear. You don't know what you're up to. You want to move away from the Snyderverse, that's fine, but there's already a built-in fan base, and you're trying to create a fan base that doesn't really exist. So you're going to appealing to very, very cynically the wanting and desires to have a black Superman, which I think are fine unto themselves. They're, I think, totally legitimate. I'm not a black American, so I can't say if that's, something that's really deeply needed. But yeah, for a certain kind of the audience, I think that would be interesting and exciting. Even if I wasn't pro Snyder, there just are just way too many things that the CW, the WB, and just DC Comics as a whole has done, which makes you doubt, really, do they really care about this issue, or are they really going to give us a good story? I mean, it's possible, right? It is possible Coates is going to write a great script. It's possible the director is going to be great, and it's possible the actor they get is going to be great. But the probability of all those things happening and just have such an excellent team creatively is going to really, really be very, very unlikely, especially now that they've just gotten rid of the Ava DuVernay project. They've gotten rid of the James Wan project. It just doesn't make a whole lot of sense. This just feels like very, very cheap and cynical marketing that they're really not committed to almost any artistic vision at all, whether it's from a non-white or a white person. So they're trying to find something to fill in the gap and at least generate positive buzz for themselves. They want to generate some positive buzz for themselves, and ironically, they're doing so from the Snyder Cut. Right? That's the Snyder Cut is really generating already a lot of positive vibes for the DCU, but the WB executives had really nothing to do with that. I mean, they were just a hindrance for most of it. So it's just really, really kind of ridiculous to really try to now think that the WB now finally has good intentions. But I am open-minded. So maybe they will give us something in terms of the trailer or concept art, and that will really persuade us that, okay, they don't have the best intentions, but maybe they're going to do something interesting. But again, it's just been too many times that they've gone down this route, and when they get nervous, they just pull the plug, they reverse the project, and this whole cold commitment to whatever it is just done, and then they move on to something else. So consider me skeptical on this whole question, but that's just me. All right, this has been the DCU analyzed on the alleged new era for Superman.